You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. I'm here with Anna this week. Paul is conspicuously absent. But in his place, I'm very excited to introduce our guest. She is the editor-in-chief of Prima Games, co-founder of Don't Fear the Gamers, editorial director of Wrecked Global, and lots of other things. We'd be here all day if I was going to list them all off. But she is also a personal role model of mine in community building and leadership. Welcome to the show, Liana Ruppert. How are you doing today, Liana?
Oh, that's like the sweetest intro ever. I'm good. How are you? I'm excited to be here. We've been trying to do this for so long.
Yeah, you know, it's actually when I first started this podcast, or before I first started this podcast, when I was like trying to scout names for people who I'd want on a show, your name was on the list of people. That's how long I've been trying to get you on the show. I know you're busy. I'm not like saying,
the guilt is real.
I'm not trying to lay it on you here or anything like that. I'm just really glad that you finally managed to find the time to come on the show. It's a great honor and a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
And as I passingly mentioned, how are you doing, Anna, this week?
Yeah, I'm here too. Yeah, I'm pretty fantastic. I spent the day selling cutting boards on the lawn of a big fairground. It was absolutely fantastic. The rain actually started the moment we started taking down the tent. It couldn't have been better.
Actually, how's Victoria doing with all this stuff going on? Because
Oh,
you guys were COVID-free a couple weeks ago, weren't you?
Yeah, we're still pretty close, and the bits and pieces we do have are mostly up island or in secluded island areas. So we seem to be doing okay. Things seem fairly normal here. We don't have mandatory masks. I believe Toronto has the mandatory masks, so a little bit different over here on the West Coast. But I think Canada, we're all going to ante up, and it's all going to go pretty even across the board soon.
Yeah. How about your area, Liana?
Oh my God, Chicago. No, people don't know how to wear masks. I don't know what people's issues are. We keep getting really bad spite. You know what sucks too is our governor's actually really good. Like I'm actually really proud of all the things he's been doing to try to seclude everything and get it under control, but nobody wants to listen for some reason. So we're still in quarantine. I'm very immunocompromised, so I try to just assume everybody else around me is too.
Of course,
anytime we do go for like grocery shopping or something, we'll usually seclude ourselves like for like a week or two. After, just in case, because I don't want to accidentally get anybody sick.
It's a good idea. Yeah, well, I was just surrounded with people, but everybody was socially distanced. So the tents were all 6 meters apart, and there was cones for where everybody was to stand, and everything was done touchless and tapless. So I was really happy with the organization because I didn't think I'd be in markets this year. I actually started doing other things thinking this just wasn't going to happen, and I was only going to be online. So it's promising. You know, I hope we can keep it up.
That's great. I wish everybody would take that, because you can smartly, but smartly does not include thousands of people at a beach at a time.
Oh, God, yeah.
No, those pictures are so scary now. They used to be so beautiful and enticing, and now I'm just like, no.
No.
Well, it's weird because I used to never see people get that close from one another before. Everyone used to like keeping their distance, and now it's sort of like everyone's just, hey, let's all get shoulder to shoulder for no reason.
It's now because they know they can't, so they want to.
Yeah.
America is just a bunch of children that don't know how to just stay in timeout for their necessary amount of time.
Oh, man.
Exactly. We'll have to find different vices to take away to distract them for now, you know.
Yes. Lock all of their electronics. Yeah. Take away their Facebooks and their Twitters.
Yeah. How's it been for games journalism?
Oh my God, it's weird. I travel a lot for work, and I'm usually in California more often than I'm not. So like, I think the month before COVID hit, I was in LA 3 different times that month. So this is the longest time in years I think I've been at home. So it's been driving me absolutely nuts because I'm just used to, it's a very go pace. Like the biggest, people always make fun of me too because like I don't know how to ask for help, so I tend to take everything on myself. And so like I remember last year at E3 we actually had to go to the hospital because I had my feet were bleeding so bad from running just everywhere. So like to have just be home, it's nice because, you know, my husband and my animals are here, but it's very weird. I didn't realize how reliant my entire schedule was around not having a schedule. So now, I don't know, it's weird. And then needing to be creative. But I am really excited because the company I work for, we do a lot of talent. Like we're actually running a lot of the SDCC programming this year. We do a lot of the E3 booths and stuff. And so we've really had to pivot and go digital. We've done some really cool showcases. So it's kind of interesting. It's interesting to explore where the industry goes from here, because I really feel like games is going to be, industry-wise and consumer-wise, is going to be a lot different from here on out, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've been in games journalism for a very long time now. So let's start from the beginning. Well, what is your gaming background and how did you get into the field?
I have been gaming, so I'm 33. My mom was actually a huge gamer, so we had the original Nintendo and the SNES and all of that from a really young age. And back when I was a kid, and I think we're kind of in this similar age group, but like it wasn't really cool to be a gamer. Like we were all considered like mouth breathers, and you know, and being a girl at the time was a lot, you know, not like it is today. But so yeah, I remember specifically when I was 5 years old, I was obsessed with Contra. And I was obsessed with F-Zero. And the few times I would try to invite people over, they just were not having it. They didn't understand. And I just remembered like how I felt hanging out with them versus how I felt gaming. And I was like, gaming is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, this is it. So yeah, I kind of knew I wanted to do something. And then when I went to college, it's still, you know, gaming wasn't mainstream like it is today. And everybody and their mothers, my mother, advisors, everybody, I wanted to go to school for game design, and just everybody told me not to do it. So I changed. And then I ended up dropping out because I wasn't happy. And then I joined the military like an idiot. But like during all that time, I, you know, was working like at little trade game shops. Like there's one called Vintage Stock that does like retro games and like comics and music and stuff. And I just really wanted to soak up everything I could about the industry. I wanted to know freaking blood types. I wanted to know everything. And really just learning. And then, what a lot of people don't realize, I don't know if it's necessarily the same. I think nowadays it might be more about luck. But back when I was trying, it was really about building your portfolio first. And most of the people in my circle started out the same way, where we just wrote for free for a long time, just to try to build up a portfolio and add value of like, no, I'm used to researching and I'm used to hounding for contacts. And, you know, a lot of people think writing games is, oh, you just play games all day. It's like, no, I wish. My backlog is very bad. And a lot of the games we do play, we don't get to keep progress because like they're you know, like I just played a bunch of hours of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but that progress doesn't carry over. So like, unless I'm reviewing it, I likely won't play it all the way through for a while. But yeah, so it was just getting portfolio, shopping around in magazines. You know, I've worked for a couple of magazines in the past. A lot of them are, you know, discontinued now, but just getting my name everywhere and shopping and then getting a few freelance gigs and doing some hosting gigs. And then eventually I had a good enough resume, had a few stories that were good enough to be like, oh, wow, like you chased the story. Awesome. And I did a lot of freelance, like sites like GameSpot and things like that. And then I finally landed with comicbook.com a few years ago, which was my big salary gig. Like that was, I was a writer before that, but it was all freelance. And for me, I knew I'm very picky. If I want something, I want it to be a certain way. And I knew I wouldn't see myself as a writer until I made a salaried position, which isn't fair, but that was just how my mind worked for some reason.
Of course, yeah.
So then we did that. And then from there, became a managing editor over with CBS, with their gaming division, which is the owner of Comic Book. And then Greenlit was like, hey, yo, we got Prima Games. Do you want to, we're resurrecting it. Cause I was right after the news that it was shut down. And I was like, holy shit. Like I have piles of Prima Games guides. Like, hell yeah, give it to me. Let's do this. And they were like, yeah, we want you to take it a different direction. It doesn't have to be all guides. Like, do news, features, whatever. I was like, done. give it to me. I'm down. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I don't know. 17 years of games writing. I don't know if this is where I want to be for very much longer. I enjoy it. I love it a lot. But through the years, it's just continuously evolved into a very toxic place. It's not the best job right now for women especially. And it's not safe a lot of the times. And if you have any kind of mental health issues at all, I mean, I get thousands. I've gotten thousands of death threats and people putting my address up on the internet, and just like, it's weird. So I don't know, but yeah, it wasn't overnight. A lot of people tend to see people in their space that they are at that moment, not realizing the journey it took. Like Ninja, everybody sees him as the epitome of streamers, but they don't realize that he streamed for like 7 or 8 years with no views at all until he got to that point. Like, there's a lot of sweat that goes into it that I think a lot of people don't really give the credit, not because like they're like, oh, give me accolades for the hard work, but it's like, no, for people wanting to get in, they need to see those rejections and that time and how much are you willing to put into it, because you'll get what you put in. And if you're not willing to build yourself up, sometimes that means for free, unfortunately. You're not going to get where you want to be.
Being an unpaid intern is really common when going into bigger industries as well. I mean, to get your foot in the door, you have to put in a lot of hours.
Oh, yeah. A lot of networking, prove your mettle. Internships are a great way to do that, because then they see like, okay, if this person is this dedicated in a lower, ranking, I guess, former military, so I can't help but say that, but like a lower ranking, it's, you get to really build your own reputation. Like, I'm really proud of the reputation I have now, because it took me years and years and years of being consistent. And I don't know, I'm proud of that, because a lot of people unfortunately give up. I've had a lot of people give up. I've had a lot of people leave the site that we run, that we own, that we created, because, after X amount of time, they're like, I can't do it anymore. It's like, I get it, because it's not an easy industry to break into, and it can take some people a month. I like my writer that I have right now. He kind of just stumbled into it. I thought I liked his vision. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take you. But other people, it can take them up to like 10 years.
Yeah, but he had to find somebody like you with consistency to pull it off. That word right there, that is almost a swear word. It is the hardest and most functional word in the business world out there. And it is so rare to come across.
I agree completely. It's rough. It's rough when people don't understand that, you hear consistency and they don't realize, like, consistency means even when you don't want to do it, or when your back's against the wall and you feel like you're ready to quit, push yourself just a little bit harder until you realize you don't want to do it anymore. I've had writers I just had a writer, Nick Barth. Shout out to my boy Nick. He's been in this industry for a while, and he resigned recently, and he was just like, I just don't want to be in gaming anymore. And I was like, you know what, dude? That's understandable. The way everything is right now, that is understandable. Go forth and prosper.
Yeah. It's definitely a game for marathon runners and not sprinters, right?
Yeah. And the biggest thing advice I can give is don't go into it wanting to be the next Jason Schreier or the next Alana Pierce. Like, if you're going, I have a coworker that I'm not going to say their name, but they think they're very slick when they slide into people's DMs and comment on everybody's comments. And there's networking, and then there's almost being obsessive. And that kind of behavior, it comes off very, I don't know, clout chasing almost a little bit. And that's not the reputation you want. You want to be making meaningful networks. Don't chase people. Don't hound people. And if you're coming into this industry with the sole purpose for no other reason other than wanting to be famous, that's going to bite you in the ass. It might not bite you in the ass immediately, but it will eventually bite you in the ass later, because despite what people think, this industry is very small. And that kind of behavior is very easily detected. So if anybody's listening and they're like, I want to get into games, be humble. No matter if you're Jason Schreier level or if you're just starting out, no matter what, be humble, because if you're not, that's only going to hurt you. And you're not going to grow as a writer either. You can't ever feel like you know everything. That's not the scope of the job, and it never will be.
Do you sometimes find like fast rise, fast fall happens? Like, do you see people that get in there and all of a sudden they're amazing and they're everything and they're everywhere, and then you never see them again like that? Does that happen?
1,000%. And it's also usually those types of people too that they're not, because it's not that steady build that they get to that immediate rush, and that's when the kind of power trips happen. And I have yet to see a person get to that level and not, again, bite them in the ass. There's a big reason why there's a lot of big names at IGN you mysteriously don't hear about anymore. Or right now what we see with Ubisoft is that kind of behavior. If you start leaning into the egotistical me type aspect, it's going to come out eventually, and you're going to regret it. You're going to look back and you'd be like, I should have experienced that experience for what it was versus what I wanted it to be. And this is an industry that is a really cool industry to work in, but you really have to be passionate about it, because you'll never be able to look at a game the same way. Cyberpunk. I was like, I'm not reviewing that game because I'm so looking forward to it. I need to be able to enjoy it. And like, that's why I started the Twitch channel. Like I can't not pick apart games and look at the history, like, oh, well, I met this developer and he was an asshole, and it just colors everything. And there's a lot of days where you're working till 1 o'clock in the morning. Like E3, Chu, my husband, can attest. E3 week is the hardest week, I think, of the year for me personally, and for a lot of other journalists. We were there last year for 2 weeks, and I think for the entire 2 week span, I maybe slept 4 hours total.
Oh, yeah.
It was rough. Came back, was sick as a dog. It was terrible. It's terrible. But it's worth it if that's an area you're super passionate in. But it takes, you got to know going in, I guess. A lot of people have a romanticized view. This is turning into such a negative industry. Like, I don't mean to be like, gaming sucks, it's going to eat your soul. Like, I don't mean that. Oh my God. I just like, I'm hearing myself talk, just like, come on, Liana, it's not negative, but I don't know. I run a lot of mentorship circles with young writers, and I see a lot of that idealism, and I see it go 1,000 different ways wrong. And it breaks my heart it's because nobody prepared them.
Well, it's fair to say it's not really negative. It's actually pretty universal. Like in any occupation, in any career, in any field, a lot of people go into things thinking that's what they want to do. And then they kind of realize once they're in it, like, oh, wait, this is not what I expected, right? Like, you can imagine people who watch these like legal dramas and want to be a lawyer. It's like, you don't know what lawyers really do you?
Yeah. Anything prosperous usually has very many long, boring, difficult, tiring moments that are very, very repetitive. And that doesn't mean it's not exciting and wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's not all exciting. Like it's still rooted in reality.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I've been running my business for 11 years now, and we've had quite a few friends that have started and stopped businesses online and in person. And apart from some of the older contractors that we have worked with since the beginning, not a single one person that I know still runs the same business that they started then, or any business at all. I mean, the stick-to-itiveness, we know a lot of people. It's just not a lot of people seem to, and it's hard. It's all really hard. And, we're not exactly retiring rich, but here after 10 years, we're hitting a flow. Things are in the green and not the red. It is feasible.
Oh, that's nice.
Amazing. Yeah. I had nothing but respect for people that start their own businesses. Like people don't understand. There's a lot of risk. And when you put that much of yourself into something too, like the fear of, could I have done something differently or something? I don't know. There's a lot of strength in doing that. I definitely have nothing but respect for that, for sure.
And, also to back you up on the whole thing about, when people think that going into the industry just means they get to play all the games for fun. It's like, I'm not in the industry the way you are, but like, when I worked at EB Games even, just, we got like 5 resumes a day of people who think that working at EB Games means that you get to sit around playing games. It's like, really? That's what you think that this does?
Yeah. The games just sell themselves. We're all in the back. Peace out. There's the cash register. Enjoy. Yeah. Oh my Lord. Well, the best too is like people that don't want to play the games that like, oh my God, that's my work. That grinds my gears is when we have like full-time writers and you're like, okay, these are the things we need to review this week, or these are the things we need to write the games. And they turn around and say, well, I don't want to, I don't like the game. Tough shit. It's your job. This is what I need, and I need them by this time. Like, hopefully next week there's something that tickles your fancy, but like, we pay your salary, man. Like, this is what's needed. Like,
not
that's
every
my
book
favorite
can be
thing.
Moby Dick, just play the game.
Just play the game, do it fast. Next week will be better, hopefully.
Well, that's what we're all doing, though. I mean, we're all doing business gaming. I don't do all that you do, but even just for the guild and work with the podcast, pretty much every time I turn on a game and it's not a game for work, I'm like, should I really be playing this game or should I be playing one of the games on this list?
Yes, the guilt is real. The guilt
really
is so real. Like, it's so bad. That's literally why I started the Twitch, because I was like, I cannot categorize in my head. I am such I have no work-life balance that I don't watch TV shows. I don't do anything. So I'm like, I should be working right now. So if I do this, I can at least be like, no, I'm cultivating a community. It's still productive, but it's not. It's just me making stupid jokes and thinking I'm funnier than I actually am. But it's in my head. It's productivity. So it works. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's true. Twitch does the same for me. Because, I mean, no, it's not like everybody in my house is going to gather around me and watch a play a game and throw in quips and comments. Like in real life, that's not actually going to happen for me. So I can go on Twitch and a couple of people from online can throw me those quips and comments and most of the time teach me something about the game I didn't know or give me information that I wouldn't have known before. So it's great.
I love it.
To clarify on the record, do you ever feel pressure when reviewing a game to review it in a more positive way or in any sort of a certain direction based on, the your relation to the developers or the companies?
No, and that's why I have a lot of people that aren't my biggest fans. But that is a good segue into something I do want to mention. Can we end this myth that paid reviews are a thing? Because they're not. I think people are confusing maybe influencers with journalists. So basically the infrastructure of writing reviews and things. No, oh my God. I'm like, oh, this is a pet peeve of mine. There's a lot of people that, I mean, every time you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you give a game that everybody hates a good review, you're accused of paying them off. If you give a game that everybody loves a bad review, you're accused of not being a real gamer. And the way the infrastructure of reviewing works at most websites is even if a PR, because usually the handles between giving a review code to somebody is never handled by the publisher. It's usually handled by a third party PR person. And so the two don't really meet anyway at all. But in the few instances where I did have, I've had publishers be like, hey, can you not say this sounded like ass? Could you maybe just say it didn't sound great? Or, that maybe. And even then for 17 years, I think I've heard that maybe twice. Right. For the large part, it's not, you're never going to hear back anything. The worst thing that's going to happen is they won't feature you in their marketing. That's about it.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of people tend to think that there's paid off. And even if there was like a PR person was like, hey, we didn't like this, it usually goes to the editor, not the person that reviews. Like when I have my writers review something, they'll say something to me. And 9 times out of 10, that feedback does not go to the writers unless it's good feedback because it's already done. We did our part. You did your part. Have a nice day, I guess. But no, I for me personally, and that's a big reason why I've stepped away from reviews a lot in the last 2 years is I tend to have opinions, and this is not me being like, I'm so special. I really think I have bad taste. And I tend to really enjoy games that people love or hate, and I tend to not like games that people absolutely adore. And that usually gets me, unfortunately, being a woman in this industry and being a woman that has a very uniquely spelled name, it's very easy to find my contact information. That's why I don't the worst place you could try to reach me at is Facebook, because I do not check Facebook messages at all under any circumstance. And, you just, and there's sometimes, there was a couple of games where I was like, I would do a disclaimer, like, you're going to not like this review. So if this is a game you're excited for, you should probably stop reading this review at this point and see you later. It's just, the feedback's bad, but, and maybe some people do. Obviously I can't speak for everybody, but for me personally, I don't know how to say this without not sounding like a total narcissist, but I'm pretty comfortable in my viewpoints and things, and I'm very comfortable with changing my viewpoints on things. Like if I'm presented, I've never been one of those people to that's like, no, I'm right no matter what. Like, oh shit, you're right. That's a really good point. Thank you. Pivot my idea. And I've changed complete reviews before I've done after the fact reviews or after I spent more time with, especially for those ongoing live service games. like, you know what? My first impressions were a little off. Here's an addendum, but I won't change the initial review. I'll either do a separate one or do it at the bottom with an update. But for me personally, I'm pretty comfortable with my security and how I am and my process because I overanalyze everything.
That's perfect, right? You're like, don't apologize, just evolve. That's what you're doing. That's
just
perfect.
Evolve. Yeah. That's the perfect way to saying it is just, and that's the advice I give to all writers is, always evolve. If you think you know everything there is to know about writing, you might as well quit because you're at the end of your career. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm friends with a lady who's 100 years old, and she said, I learn something new every day. The day I don't learn something is the day I might as well just lie down and not get back up again. So there's a lot of learning in 100 years.
Yeah, that's literally my philosophy for everything. I love that.
Oh,
you should never stop learning. And who cares about your pride? Your pride. And next week, is that thing that affected your pride gonna matter? No. So just swallow it. Who fucking cares?
Yeah, it's not as big of a
dropped the
deal.
F-bombs.
Exactly.
I was counting down to it. I was wondering when it was going to happen.
But yeah, the only person your pride matters to is yourself. And, nobody sees it the same way you see it. So there's no point in honoring it as such.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It really just baffles me, like, just the whole culture of people who just, like, who just fester hate over a differing opinion. Like, when someone reviews something and they disagree, just be like, well, I don't agree with that. And just, like, move on, right? But then like, some people just, like you said, the death threats, you hear about it everywhere, and I imagine it's like, you've got it worse than just about anyone. But, no matter what, it's common. It's like you always hear about, like, the people getting death threats and harassment just because it's like, I like the thing you didn't. Like, who cares? Like, just like it. Go for it. Or
do you
don't
think
like
your
it.
opinion's that important that you need to, like, berate my opinion to make me believe your opinion now? Because that might not be the right way to get me to think about what you're talking about.
Exactly. It's so funny, too, because I'll block people. I've gotten to the point where I don't even engage. If you come at me with hate, I will immediately block you. And it's so funny because they'll always share the screenshot that they're blocked like it's a badge of honor. It's like, I won. It's like, you didn't win anything. You're literally not worth my time. Like, you're so inconsequential. And that sounds like a really shitty thing to say, but it's true because if that's how you are, I have no time for people like you. I don't care.
Exactly.
Your opinion is shit and I will wipe my butt with it. And
An apology is just an excuse until the next time you cause trouble anyways. I don't go for that stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, and to set the record straight, because I've been following you on Twitter and Facebook for a bit of a time now. Yeah, it's usually when I see you block somebody, it's for a pretty damn good reason.
Yeah. I'm not. I try not to. Usually, I'm pretty good at ignoring it. But if it's those people that try tagging me into things and try to do the mob mentality, nah, I don't have time for it. Bye.
Yeah.
So do you have other females in the industry? I mean, I know nobody's kind of really doing exactly what you do, but do you have other people that you look for advice or mentoring, or do you feel you're kind of just on your own a little bit?
No, I have like I said earlier, like the gaming industry is very small. And I'm really lucky because I have a lot of really amazing people in my corner and in my circle that I've met through the years. And, I really, if there's one person in particular I could give a shout out to, her name is Amanda Farrow. And she used to be the editor-in-chief of GameDaily.biz, which is a business-facing website. So it's not like here's the new patch notes site. Like, it's literally like deep dives. They'll usually takes a long editing process to get these they're very thought-out deep dives. And it's really great. But watching her work, I could always go to her with questions and advice, and just watching her entire process, which is just always really inspiring to me. And the people that aren't in my scope, but are in like the peripherals, like, the video content creators and, I'm not alone. And for those that do feel alone, I definitely reach out to me because like I can hook you up with some good communities that specifically for that. I think too, a lot of times with women in this industry, and if anybody listening, this is just my personal experience, but we have a lot of like whisper networks and microcosm communities that, because there is a lot of, toxicity and predatory behavior, again, we're seeing that with Ubisoft, and we have those networks that the women in the gaming industry are some of the strongest women. And I was in the Marines, you know what I mean? Like the women in the games industry are among the strongest I've ever met in my entire life. And more than that, they're incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, and they look out for each other. You don't even have to know. Like, you don't have to know them. I've seen women see like a journalist or developer at an industry party, and the second they look uncomfortable, they'll pretend they've been best friends for like 10 years. Like, the support is amazing. I love it. That's one really cool side. And it sucks because that a lot of that has evolved from more dangerous aspects, but it is so cool to see so many women. You don't really see that, like, media likes to portray that women are like jealous and catty, and like, you don't really see that. I haven't run into that at all.
Yeah, the female gamers that I've come in contact with, not having met any growing up as a kid, because, like, I didn't even know people who really played games, let alone girls that were playing them, but they're all just such a lovely, supportive group of people, and I'm like, where were you guys when I was in school? Oh my God.
Right? Oh my God. It's so crazy seeing it now. I'm so happy, though, because it was weird being a girl that gamed when they were young, because... Lord, it was not a popular thing. It was definitely not cool.
Especially playing PC games. You're like, oh yeah, hey, do you want to come over and watch me play an adventure game?
Just don't talk, because I'm focusing.
Yeah. Write down things. Draw the map. There you go.
Yeah, draw the map. But yeah, no, you're so right about that, because I remember when I grew up, and I was a kid when NES originally came out and onwards. And, gaming was always regarded and treated and done by the boys. It was like, I think there was like one time in elementary school when a girl said that she had a Nintendo, and nobody believed her. Because like, no, you don't. Girls don't. Girls don't have Nintendo. They don't do that. It's like, even if they existed, no one would ever believe that they did.
Yeah, you didn't talk about it. Yeah, for sure. Like, that just wasn't. It's so funny too, because my mom, like I said, my mom was the gamer, and it was just her and I growing up. There was no dad or anything, but it's so funny when I would bring it up, they'd be like, "Oh, is that your dad's?" It's like, no, it's my mom's. Like, oh, where'd she get it? She fucking got it. like, where do you get your consoles? Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. I'm glad it's changed, though. I haven't really run into anybody being like, "Are you a real gamer?" in a while, which is nice, because that was fun, especially in the beginning of my career. That was super fun.
But I mean, and I've been hearing for years now, as it does pop up quite a bit, the amount of harassment and such that goes on in the industry. Do you feel, at least now, that are things like improving? Like, are they on a trend of improvement or getting better, at least?
I could see how it would look that way. I don't know how in tune you guys are in what's going on, especially on Twitter, but gaming is going through a Me Too movement, another one.
Yeah.
But this is not the first one. The thing that happens, though, is everybody gets super passionate and we have to treat our women better. For about 2 days. And then another trend happens and it's forgotten. And then suddenly the people that were rallying with you are now rallying against you. And, Ubisoft is actually, and I keep bringing that up because that's just what's happening today, but they made some big moves. They removed the 3 very high level executives, including the head of HR today, based on allegations. And one of them, it's heartbreaking because one of them was my really good friend.
Oh, no.
And I had no idea. I remember when the allegations first came out, I called him and I cussed him out. I was like, I texted him and I was like, what the hell is going on? And he was like, don't believe it. I was like, I'm not saying shit. You need to call me and you need to tell me what's going on. And he tried to do the whole sob story of, I'm framed, da da da. I was like, okay, well, walk me through what happened. Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
And I kept making him repeat parts of the story, because if you make somebody repeat a story enough times and it's not the truth, they'll eventually slip up. And I had him repeat the same story like 5 times in a row, and every time he told it differently.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh,
yeah. And I was like, the call ended very poorly. I was like, F you, don't ever talk to me again. Like, I'm so disappointed in you. Like, and he was a person that I used to give contact information of young journalists starting out, because I thought he was a person that could be trusted. I'm like, this is a person that's well connected. He will help you with your career. And sick. Like when that went through, I went through every single person I ever referred to. Like, did anything happen to you? You tell me. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I will freaking kill him. Like, tell me like what happened. And, you know, and, but I don't think it's getting better yet because it's too early to tell because you're already starting to see people lose interest again.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember what my whole thing in March, got interviewed by Fox. Like it was,
which one? Like,
it was very public.
I hate to say it, but it's like I've heard so many things. Like, which one was it that was in March?
That was something that happened with me at PAX East.
Oh yeah.
We're familiar with that one.
Embarrassing. Yeah. That was super embarrassing, and I'm still getting gaslit over that. Of the person is still lying and still saying, despite promising to do better, they're not. And if you give an apology and 2 seconds later release a document saying everything I said is wrong, that's not an apology. That's and then people like that, they get free passes because again, there's that short attention span, and he is by far not my only abuser in this industry. It was really weird because one of them that nobody knows the specifics about got outed in that first round about 3 weeks ago. And like it got to the point where my boss called me like, I'm about to put you on forced leave. Like you need to deal with, not in a bad way, but being like, you are dealing with a lot all at once. And like, cause I did tell him, because it's a person that was very big, and he was very much like, I still had to be friends with him on Facebook, and I still had to follow him on Twitter, because he told me, he's like, if you disconnect, you will never work a day in your life again. And it's just like, and that's so common, like it really is, and it's really heartbreaking. So I hope it's on the upturn. I think it's too early to see. But I am seeing people that have previously been really callous to these types of stories finally starting to get interest. And it's going to be one of those things, a little bit at a time, baby steps.
Yeah. So for those of us who are on the outside looking in, what would you recommend is something that we could do to take action to try to help make things a little bit better?
Believe women all the time. And people like to be like, well, women lie. Okay, for every one woman that lies, which does happen, I've seen it happen. And I've ripped them to shreds when I find out. 100%. Equal opportunity shredder. I don't care. If you lie, you're done. But for every one woman that's lying, there's 1,000 that aren't. But having that skeptical, like it really hurt. There was one YouTuber with my whole shit that made a YouTube video. And even though their heart was in the right place, that gave the people that were looking to discredit me all the ammo they needed. And so if you don't know 100% without a shadow of a doubt, don't weigh in with your opinion. Right. If it's contradicted to the woman's story, because that every little slight naysay gets used as ammunition. Don't weigh in. If you don't have anything constructive to add, don't weigh in. Report it. If you see anything, you hear something, even with just trolls, if you see people just being dicks, just give them a polite nudge. Be like, hey, dude, these are people, like, whatever, and just be aware of what's going on. And
I think that's actually a really good point, too, that you brought up that I hadn't really thought of before. It's like, sometimes, like, if you're friends with somebody and you don't know that side of them, and then you hear the accusations and allegations made against them, it could be in, people's reflexive nature to be like, well, I know this guy and he's a cool guy, but it's like, you don't necessarily know that. Sure, he may have been cool with you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all this other stuff didn't happen too, right?
Yeah, believe women even when it's your friends. And that's like the hardest thing. Like people think that it's so easy because people are so public on Twitter, especially Twitter, of like, but F these people, da da da. But like what they don't see is it's really hard when you learn. It's the first reaction when you hear somebody close to you being accused, your first instinctual reaction, if you really care about them, is to defend them. And all I can say is try to tamper down that reaction, because if I had done that with this person at Ubisoft, I could have done a lot of harm to that woman, like a lot of harm to that woman. Even though I wanted to be like, but what if? But I couldn't. And I had to actually like shut my phone off because I was scared I was going to type something that was insensitive or respond to something. And I was kind of spiraling. And the big thing is that morality can't just exist when it's separate outside of your circle. You need to make sure that even if it's somebody close to you, you have to believe victims. You do. You have to. 100%. A good example, too, I like to use my personal experience just because I don't like to speak for other people. But I had a writer that I let go for performance issues. I mean, it was a woman, and just a lot of performance issues. And she kind of knew it was coming anyway, because I was like, this can't keep happening. If this keeps happening, we're going to have a serious conversation, and you might need to be looking for other employment. And so I let her go. And then a couple of weeks later, I sent her a message like, hey, I might have some freelance opportunities that might, because if you don't have this much structure, maybe you'll thrive there. Mm-hmm. And then a week later, a bunch of controversy came out. I'm not going to say this person's name, but a bunch of controversy came out about this person who was grooming like young journalists sexually and was targeting certain men and women in the industry just to ruin their lives because they thought it was funny. Mm. And I loved this girl. Like, she was like family, which was a big reason why I was trying to find a freelance position for her, because I genuinely love just being around her. And for me, if you tell me you have an abuser, it's an instant block for me. I don't care. I've blocked CEOs before. I don't care. My career is never going to matter more than you feeling like you're in a safe place in a friendship with me. But I'm not going to lie. That one, I hovered over that block button for about an hour. And then when I finally did it, I cried, because I was like, that was really... coming to terms with the fact that I would never talk to her again hurt like a bitch. But I always preach believe victims. And that you can't preach what you're not willing to back up. And a lot of those people affected by her were also friends. And what kind of example would that set if they saw me still supporting her, even passively? Because a follow, unfortunately, as shallow as society is right now, a follow does count as an endorsement.
Yeah. It does.
And a lot of people in my circle still follow a lot of my abusers. And trust me, I know, I see it. Like, I'm not going to say anything, but it still hurts. And yeah, I couldn't do that to somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm like getting like existential and no.
I mean, it's really intense, but you know what? This industry is all about passion, and passion does lead in all different directions, and you can't have yin without the yang. The more amazing something is, oftentimes there's something to counter it that's not quite so amazing. So, hearing all these inside tidbits in the industry, although not always good to hear, is, I think, very, very important for us all to hear. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, just the awareness of the problem is, quite often, obviously it's the first step. It's also kind of like the biggest step to take, because there's a lot of problems that just don't get seen. And that's kind of why, that's probably a lot of why there's such a hard time believing the upsurge of people getting exposed now, is because, there's these problems that just sort of like lay under the surface and nobody kind of noticed. So they just sort of assumed that it wasn't happening. And now that it all comes out and, one person comes forward, next thing 100 people come forward, next thing thousands, and people are sort of like, well, they all just want attention, right? Suddenly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I get told I'm wanting attention all the time. Well, actually, one of my friends that I was friends with for a long time unfriended me over the stuff that happened and separated himself completely from my life back in March. Because he thought I was doing it for attention. I was like, when do I ever do anything for attention? It took me years to come up with the Twitch, because I don't like being on camera. But yeah, no, it is. And a lot of people protect them too. And there is that hierarchy of, you want to make in this industry, keep your mouth shut. And that is a very real problem that we see, because it is a very desirable industry to be in. And
you also got to think, like, when it comes to the harassment and it comes to like the real threats that are made to you personally and stuff like that, it's like, who wants this attention? Who would actually, who would seek this out?
It's terrible.
Right?
Exactly. Being a victim is difficult. And I mean, it's embarrassing to say something about it. To come out is one of the hardest things somebody can do. So to not have support at that crucial moment can drive somebody right back into their shell again. It's really, really important that they have somebody that hears, understands, and believes them.
Oh my God, you just hit the nail on the head though. Like, that's the problem too, is once you're labeled a victim, that's all people see you as. Right. I cannot, I've had people not want to work with me over, people, oh my God, it's just so frustrating, just because, a couple months ago, like I said, my husband can attest, I was laying on the floor of the police station sobbing my eyes out. I was talking to my boss. He can attest this. He gave me a week off. He was very understanding. I will always be thankful for him for that. I was laying on the police floor because I've always, really struggled with depression. And the person in question here exploited that a lot. To the point where I have told this person, your direct actions, I'm gonna off myself because I can't keep doing this constant abuse from you. And he would laugh and be like, well, do it. And I remember laying on the floor in the police station, and there was 3 cops that were taking my statement because I did the court whole thing to get a restraining order and everything. And, I'm glad they didn't ship me off to a hospital like they're legally supposed to, but I was just like, shoot. I was like, do I need to rush you? Just fucking shoot me. And I remember just being so desperate just to, because people were like, well, everybody supported you. It was like, for every message of support you saw publicly, I was getting berated and told I was being lied to. And it's not good. But you know what makes it worth it is we counted because I had to print out every single one for my court documentation. And they asked me to the judge and my attorney did suggest I press criminal charges, and I didn't. Not because I would be like, oh, I don't think I'd win. He told me I would win. But I'm not trying to ruin anybody's life. That's not my objective. Like, that was not my objective. That was never I didn't even want to go public. They made it go public. And, it was worth it because we had to count them out. And I think the total was somewhere around like 219 or 220 women in my DM saying he did the same thing to me.
Right.
Wow. So for all of this, to him telling everybody like, oh, she's lying. Okay, well, tell the other 200 plus women they were lying too. Because we can't all be lying. Because I have never even heard of half these women coming up in my mentions, but I believe them because nobody knows these specifics. I never said the specifics because that's nobody's business but my own and the court. And so when they were telling me specifics, there's no way they could have lied about that because they didn't know my specifics.
Right.
They didn't know anything. And I did that purposely because as much people try to claim it was for attention, girl, if I wanted attention, I would have said everything.
Yeah.
Don't play that. Like it's, but yeah, it just believe women. And, if it comes out that somebody's lying, I have only seen in my entire career one woman lie in a personal circle. And that was shot down really quick. But to put that low of statistic above the higher statistics, it can't. It's got to stop.
Well, how many women have now come forward, whether it's one? I mean, every woman who now feels power because of what you've said publicly is giving more power to the movement as well to be able to speak up for ourselves and talk about what's really happening. So I really want to say thank you to you as somebody who has dealt with some of these issues in the past. I really admire you.
I appreciate that. I really admire the women coming out right now about this Ubisoft thing because that takes a lot of guts too. They've gone. Just my heart goes out. I believe every one of them. I'm so proud of them. I know it's not easy. I know it's scary to think that that's going to be what their label is from here on out. But I'm really proud of them too. We got to stick together, man. We gotta protect each other. Nobody else is going to protect us. So
it's true.
Maybe that'll change, but I'm not hopeful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned earlier that you weren't sure where you were going to be going as far as working with Prima and Greenlit. What do you think you'll be doing? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I mean, just if you're like lying back and imagining anything random, what would you imagine your best scenario would be?
Oh, man. I mean, I like what I'm doing now. I don't know what the future holds because journalism as a scope right now is very shaky grounds. We're seeing a lot of big websites shut down. We saw the Game Informer layoff. So I think it's important that anybody in journalism kind of have backup plans, not because they're like actively looking to leave their jobs, but just in case, because it is a very real threat right now. My dream, ironically enough, my dream has always been to work at Ubisoft. I think I'm friends with a lot of people there. I've applied there a bunch. Bethesda, I've applied a bunch. I have friends with a lot of people there, and I love Bethesda's model with their employees. They are so respectful, and they genuinely care about work-life balance, and I don't. Like, I do, but I'm not good with it. So, like, I need somebody to force me. Like, I need somebody to force that work-life balance onto me. I would say BioWare, but I don't know where they're going to be, so
Right.
I can't really. That was always my dream, but I would love to work like as a community manager or something. Because as journalism for me is I love being so close to the community. Like your journalists are basically the conduits between, game developers and the consumer. And I love that interactivity there. And I think community manager would also fit that bill really nicely for me. I would love to work on like Mass Effect or Halo. Oh my God,
yeah.
Halo. Freaking 343, hire me. Like, please. I'll be good, I promise. I'll sweep your floors if you need me to. I don't care. Just let me work for you. But yeah, I think I would want to do either PR, because we do a lot of PR at my job currently, and I found I've really enjoyed it. So I think if I were to leave journalism, it would be for community management or PR. I don't think I could do. I don't think I could be a developer. I just don't think I do it. Although I did get my first developer credit last year.
Nice.
For
what for?
Walking Dead Saints and Sinners.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations.
We
That's
did their
awesome.
marketing.
Yeah, congrats.
So, yeah. It was cool. I was like, hell yeah, that's fun.
PR is not easy. That's the one element a lot of people are missing when they're trying to put together a whole package. It's literally one of the hardest parts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it is. And it's a lot of times very thankless too. I've seen PR people, really good PR people. So much respect for that job. It's hard, but it's rewarding too at the same time.
Going back a bit, you mentioned that you were you kind of were put in charge of resurrecting Prima Games, and actually Anna and I were just discussing shortly before coming on here is so what was the state of Prima Games before you got there? And obviously now it's actually a pretty good presence again. So congratulations.
Thank
but
you.
so what is it? Where was it before you got there? What did you do? And what have you been doing?
So before it was shut down, Prima Games kind of merged a little bit with Brady Games, which is another guy's company.
Right.
I don't trust moves like that. And when I heard of that, I was like, I give Prima like 2 years tops after that. Because usually when that kind of happens, it's kind of a jump the shark type move. And Prima has, to its credit, has tried to break into the news vertical a few times in the past, but I don't think it had the right leadership. And I don't think it had the right vision. And I don't think it had the right purchaser. I'm not really happy with where Prima is right now, but that's just because I'm kind of always reaching for the stars. So even if I did get it to the perfect place I wanted it 3 months ago, that the level of perfection I would then change, and it would need to be even better. But we've that first couple of months I joined, was working like 18, 19-hour days, like really just talking to PR and really, because they've seen those kind of failed attempts into news, so they're like, why am I giving you a code if or giving you any kind of resources when you're just going to quit in 3 months anyway? And so that was really about getting exclusives and really just putting the presence out there. Last year we had an interview with CD Projekt Red about Cyberpunk, and IGN, Game Informer, Eurogamer, PC Gamer, all of them sourced our interview, which was freaking dope.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool, and it kind of showed the buyers, they took over back in March of 2019. And it kind of showed them, like, just trust me a little bit. I was hired because of my experience. So trust. I have a weird thing too, because like I'm 33, but I have like bluish silver hair and piercings and tattoos. So I have a baby face. So a lot of people don't take me seriously. I literally have a master's degree in business, and I've worked my ass off for 17 years, but my appearance doesn't necessarily match up to that. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see. So I do kind of have to work twice as hard. And the first couple months I worked at Prima, it was just me. I was the only writer. I was suddenly expected to do video. I was expected to do a lot of things. It's just not realistic. And even now it's a small team. It's just two of us, and we're running, it's hard. It's a lot of work, but it's nice. It's nice to see people excited about Prima again. It's nice to, go into an event and people are like, oh yeah, I saw Prima was back. Like, cool, da da da. I remember last year I went to dinner with Jesse Anderson, who works at BioWare. He actually got his start in the gaming industry as a guides writer for Prima back in the day with the hard books. And he was trading me stories of back the day, and I was trading horror stories from today. And it was really cool because, like, I don't know, so far the reception I've gotten is like, oh, I'm so excited to see Prima back. And that was, why I kind of left the cushy job of CBS, even though I missed that team immensely. It was especially my Tanner and Megan, but it was just a chance to bring back Prima. That was too good to pass up.
Oh yeah, I mean, every single one of us guaranteed has a Prima guide in our house. I have a Sims 2 Prima guide sitting right in front of me here, just using it to put my next to my microphone stand. So it's a part of what we are. And I go and I look at your site and I read through the articles. It's hard to believe there's just a team of the two of you. I mean, you had me fooled.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We're trying to make it look like we have a lot more people.
I'll also go on record to state that I actually have at least one Prima guide for a game that I don't even own or play. So
nice.
Perfect.
Nice. It's so funny. I work at the company and I'll still buy them anytime. We went to Half Price Books and I saw a Mass Effect 3 guide, and I already have 2 copies of it, but I was like, I gotta buy it. I was so dumb because I really need to stop doing that because I don't use them anymore because I played Mass Effect 30 times. So, I could write my own guide at this point, but I gotta support it, man.
I finally got into Dragon's Age Origins, so I have the local Epic Games. I'm always looking for the guide on that book. That's just been such a fun game to play. I can't believe I missed out on it up until recently.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, if you play, I'm going to self-promote a little bit. If you play Dragon Age 2, I have a video I recorded about that you should watch. I stumbled over it because I was slightly sick when I recorded it. So there's a couple times where I'm like, but I actually hated Dragon Age 2 at first. And then now I think it's arguably my top 5 favorite games of all time.
Really?
But you have to make very specific choices, and you really have to change how you look at the game, especially after Origins. But oh my god, it's got some of the best character development ever. It's amazing.
Oh, I'll totally check that out. Yeah, because I don't know. This is my game right now. I don't know what game I'm going to move on to next. So.
Oh man, Origins is such a treat. I love. You're gonna have so much fun with that.
Yeah, it's fun, and the characters are lovely. The interactions are great. I love the fact that they just talk to each other and bullshit each other and stuff as they're walking around. And then depending on who you pick, you get all these wild and different reactions. It's just so much fun.
Morgan and Alistair crack me up. Who are you romancing?
Oh, yeah, I'm romancing Alistair because he's the warrior and he's just cute and handsome.
Hell yeah.
I have Morgan on. Those two are on my regular team. I had a friend who told me you had to keep them around a lot of the time, so they're my main team for build-ups. I don't really use the Warhound much, but I do love the ability that you get to have a dog on your team, so... And a warhound at that, right? I think that is so cool. I love them. I love dogs. It's just great.
It's amazing. I did me too. That's why. Oh my god, I hate it. You're gonna hate it then. And Act 2 of Dragon Age, I think you kill a lot of dogs.
Oh boy, terrible. That's always so hard. That was my hardest thing about playing video games when they started to get a little bit cooler, and I was like, oh, and I have to kill animals too.
Oh my god! Oh, don't play Last of Us Part 2 then.
Oh my
god! When I played Dragon Age 2, I literally mod them out. So it's since I'm attacking air.
That's perfect.
I can't. I can't do this. Last of Us, to be fair, you can avoid it, but you have to be really good at stealth, and I am not. So that one I actually had I reviewed that one. That was actually the first review I've ever done where I reviewed a game I didn't play. I was there the whole time. I played the first part. I actually wrote an article about it. If anybody's listening goes to Prima Games, the article title was something like "Neck Snapping, Can We Not?" or something like that. But it was I played the first hour, and then I have a really bad thing with neck snapping. I physically can't. I will throw up. I physically can't handle it. And it was just so realistic and almost slow motion. So I had to sit there with my husband while he played through the entire game, and with my eyes half closed when I saw the melee combat, and then so I played enough to get a feel for the mechanics and the customization, and then he would give me the controller when it was cutscenes or when I needed a craft, so I could get the feel for that too. But it was just I was very honest in the review about it, I just, because I want it, like I said earlier, I just like to be really transparent in anything, but like it was very odd to review it from that standpoint. Like, okay.
Yeah.
That's still super authentic. I think that's a lot further than a lot of reviewers actually go. They'll just play it for an hour and be like, yeah, this is my opinion, and you really can't get an in-depth look doing it that way. So you did all right.
Oh man. That's so disrespectful to teens.
Right?
I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that. Can't do it.
No. Mad respect for you for that, for sure.
Appreciate it. It was very weird, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm picturing this whole thing in my head now. It's kind of amusing, but.
So we're just coming now to time to wrap up. You've already given a few shout outs throughout the episode, but is there anyone you'd like to give a specific call out before we wrap?
Yeah, hell yeah, let's do this. Okay.
Do it, you
have
all the time. You have all the time.
Yeah, all right. First shout out, my husband, Chewy, Matt Ruppert. He has been running DFTG swimmingly. He has been such a huge support because not a lot of husbands would be cool with their wives being on the road all the time, and he's never given me crap about it. He's been my biggest cheerleader. So hell yeah, Rupp, you're awesome. And then Morgan Shaver, who is one of my writers, they have a passion for indies that I have never seen in anybody else. And they are the biggest champion for indies. And they constantly inspire me with their amazing work ethic and their amazing eye for details and their amazing dedication to a specific vertical that only seems to get love in an industry when it benefits them. So hell yeah, Morgan, keep kicking ass. Don't stop being awesome. You're great. I love you. And Amanda Farrow, I already shouted you out, but I miss you.
And for those of you out there who want to catch Liana on her Twitch channel, she is at Dirty Effin' Hippie, which is DIRTYEFFINHIPPY. Check her out. She's on there quite a bit. She hit affiliate in seems like record time. Well on the way to partner, as for last I checked. If you're not there already, who knows at this point?
No, I need to. I got all the qualifications except for I need to get 75 average viewers. So I need to outweigh the ones I have now. I need to do like 5 streams in a row that hit 100 plus viewers at one time.
Wow.
Which that seems like very daunting because the channel's only 7 days old.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll see.
Go show support. Subscribe to the channel. Check out her streams. You can follow her on Twitter and pretty much anywhere at Dirty Effin' Hippie as well. And once again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It was this has been an absolutely wonderful interview, and to get to chat with you finally in person, sort of as in person as we can really do in this day and age. But
eventually we'll make it in person.
I said it before, I'll say it again. It's a great honor and pleasure to hear from you, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
No, thanks for having me. I love what you guys do.
Oh, thank you.
And for those of you out there who would like to support our show, we are on Facebook. We are a group and we have a page. Come find us at Classic Gamers Guild. We are on Twitter at the CG Guild. We are on Instagram at CGG Podcast. We have an email for those of you who still use email, mail@classicgamersguild.com. You can also support the show on Patreon, especially those in our extra special thanks tier. That would be Jay Holmes and Mark Fillion. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate the support. And until next time, we'll see you. Never mind. I'm going to abandon that. Anna, can you please bail me out of this?
Don't do a murder.
Don't do a murder.